One of the reasons we moved down to Atlanta in part was because some of the transportation struggles and challenges that our people had commuting in and out of Greenwich. Georgia still has its 159 counties. So in addition to a county government and a county school system, the vast majority of those counties have industrial development authorities that lead their economic development efforts. And of course, they all compete and fight like mad for the development opportunities. I tell you that story to make a point to set the stage. What they're trying to accomplish in Georgia is to build a 21st century economy on an 18th century political map. And it's not alone. You've got 200 nations and territories in the world, most with their own government subdivisions of their own. And this is our chessboard, I think. Every 22 packages that cross the U.S. border supports a job at UPS. And the Commerce Department recently, last year, identified that about 11.3 million U.S. jobs are supported by overall goods and service exports. We all know that the human impulses that underpin transportation and trade are basically oblivious to county and state lines and national borders. On some fundamental instinctive level, we all want to keep moving and doing business. But there are also other human instincts to protect our own interests. The roots of UPS go back to 1907. In the early days, we were a two-man bicycle messenger service in Seattle. Today, UPS operates in more than 200 countries and territories around the world. We've got over 400,000 employees globally. We're delivering every single day at least 17 million packages. We move goods by air, by sea, by rail, certainly by ground. And on occasion, we still use bicycles to go that last mile. So over time, we've gone from simply delivering packages to providing supply chain management solutions and logistics solutions for our customers. Many times we manage our technical support. How do we transform or at least navigate those 18th century maps to build a true 21st century economy? John Lennon challenged us to imagine there's no countries. That's a little ambitious, but it does create an interesting map. Efforts to lower or eliminate trade barriers between nations come and go. Some of the next steps on the path to global trade are some critical trade agreements. The economic impact of these two agreements are projected to be enormous. We're reasonably confident that they'll be agreed to and ratified and implemented within the next few years. These new free trade agreements may not get us quite as far as John Lennon's vision of imagine no countries, but I can tell you they'll allow us to imagine that shipping to Germany can be as easy as shipping to Georgia. And they will also help take us to a new level in the deployment of a truly global economy. So these are big. We've seen the rise of cities as centers of commerce. Our UPS, or emerging market strategy, is not focused on what country we should go into next. Our emerging market strategy is on which cities and what mega regions should we be looking at. So it's no longer deploying an operation across an entire country, but it's deploying operations and services in some of the largest cities. In the United States, less than 1% of companies export. And of those companies that do export in the United States, 60% of them only go to one particular country. 40% of them are going to multiple countries. 2/3 of small and medium-sized companies don't have any participation in the international marketplace whatsoever. And they should, and here's why. 95% of the consumers live outside of the United States, and they have anywhere between 75 and 85% of the buying power. If companies are going to be relevant, they got to get outside of the U.S. border. They've got to get their goods to the marketplace because people are going to be looking in our backyard to sell goods. 1/3 of all the small and medium-sized businesses that export goods saw financial return within the first 6 months. Companies that participate in international trade are 20% more productive and have 20% better job growth than those that don't. There's more that's got to take place than just eliminating tariffs when it comes to trade. There's non-tariff barriers that have to come down. Many countries around the globe that don't take advantage of electronic information to move ahead of when the packages get there and the shipments. Pre-clearance can take place, automated screening processes can take place, but some countries still wait until the goods land and then they go through a manual process to take a look at those goods. What they've done is they put together these products that they bought in their facilities in Israel and Germany. EndoChoice manages this entire network from Atlanta, but they're moving goods around the world to put these products together. So the world is absolutely smaller. It's absolutely flatter than it was before. We know we're paying a huge price for failure to maintain and modernize our transportation infrastructure. With UPS, we know that every 5 minutes that our vehicles are delayed in traffic in the U.S. on an annual basis will cost us about $105 million. We took a look at some big data. We use it to calculate the most efficient route for our package cars every single day. So every day we know what's going to be delivered from the minute that information is entered into the system. When we first rolled it out, and we had about a fifth 20% of our North American routes on it. We saved about 1.5 million gallons of fuel, and we reduced our CO2 emissions by 14,000 tons. If we can trim just 1 mile per day off of each of our routes here in the U.S., that's a $50 million savings. We don't want to see a patchwork of solutions deployed across the states. We also support increasing the federal motor fuels tax and indexing it to inflation. We're happy to shoulder our part of that load, so as long as the additional tax is used to expand capacity dedicated to highway spending programs. If we don't fix them, we're going to get leapfrogged, and we're going to wonder what happened to the marvelous, transportation network that we